So earlier this week, from the 4th to the 6th of February 2019, the Trinidad and Tobago Energy Chamber had the energy conference at the Hyatt Regency. And with the meeting over, we want to find out what was the outcome. We have with us the head of the Energy Chamber, Dr. Thackway Dax Driver. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
So 3 days
Yes.
of meetings and discussions. What was the outcome?
Well, I'm quite tired today. That's the first thing to say. I think it was a very good conference this year. We had this theme around technology, and we had a lot of interest and a lot of participation. It was the biggest numbers in terms of conference delegates we've had since 2014, since before the oil price crash. So I think that's a sort of a good sign, a sign of activity and interest. And you know, had a very, very strong set of presentations, starting off with the Prime Minister on Monday morning, and then sort of 2 days of the main conference on Monday and Tuesday. And then yesterday, the trade show continued, and we had a few workshops yesterday. So I think all in all, a very successful conference and a lot of key issues being discussed. I think you were there on Monday, and you saw I think the trade show this morning. The trade show on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think you would have seen what a good display it was, and really sort of I think that's the industry here really stepping up and showing what they're capable of doing.
And as you mentioned, the theme was technology.
Yes.
And how technology can transform the energy sector. What would have been the main takeaway from that conference?
Well, I think what we're seeing happening is that technology is changing all industries. And I'm sure it's changing the media industry as well, about how you do things. And that creates opportunities and it creates challenges. Obviously, there's this sort of big energy transition which is going on towards a lower carbon future. And so that was a sort of a key topic which came up through the conference. But then also, technology is driving change within companies and how companies operate, and how do you manage it? How do company leaders manage that change? Because it's scary for people. Jobs are changing. Different types of jobs are coming up, and automation and artificial intelligence are changing people's roles within organizations. And so, how do leaders then manage that change?
And how do we do that? How do we manage that change?
Well, I think one of the things that came across very strongly is that leaders have to listen to their to the experts within the organizations, who often may not be the people at the top of the organization. Maybe it's younger people who sort of and call them digital native people who've grown up with this technology. So I think one of the very strong statements around leadership that came from Claire Fitzpatrick, the president of BPTT in Trinidad. She was asked what element of leadership do you think is most important in this transition, and her answer was humility, which was an interesting answer. People don't usually associate that with leadership, but I think that she said, you've got to be humble and listen to the people in your organization. So I think that some of those sort of themes really came out strongly. I think there was a whole theme which ran through a lot of the discussion around how technology can improve efficiency. And so this is based on both efficiency of how people work. There's this relentless drive to push down costs in the energy sector. That's because there are a lot of concerns about the long-term costs of oil, being pushed down by the technological change, and so there's this drive always to be more efficient and do more with less, but also then very clearly around energy efficiency and how we're using energy, for economic growth. Trinidad is very energy inefficient, and so there's a lot of conversation about how do we become more energy efficient.
And one thing that was discussed was renewable energy.
Yes.
How did that go, and any decisions that were taken or any important information that the public should know in terms of policy that you may be looking to change?
One thing I would really highlight is that the major companies in the economy have signed up to this declaration around energy efficiency. So I think the first thing we have to do is be more efficient in the use of our current resources. So currently our electricity comes mostly, almost entirely from natural gas. The more efficient we can be in the use of our electricity is natural gas, which we can then free up for the petrochemical sector, who are still facing shortages of supply, and for LNG. So these are things which earn foreign exchange for us. So for economically, the numbers are very clear. Energy efficiency is good for our economy. So the major companies in the industry have signed up to this declaration to increase energy efficiency. It's one of the things that happened at the end of the conference when Senator Robert LaHunt joined us there. I think that's a major thing I would highlight, and it's going to be a lot of focus in that area over the next year. Yeah,
and what people have been talking about is a possible increase in the price of electricity as one way to probably have people conserve that a bit more. Is the Chamber making any suggestions as it relates to that?
Yeah, we've done a lot of work around electricity pricing. I mean, Trinidad has incredibly, very, very cheap electricity. And I think that I think everyone knows that there has to be a change to that. You have to do it in the right way. I mean, there is a social need to make sure that people at the lowest levels of society are able to access electricity. So you have to have a system which is tiered, where people using small amounts of electricity get that at a subsidized level. But then so you subsidize people for lights and fans and a fridge, but you don't have to subsidize people who've got centralized air conditioning and a huge big swimming pool, and that doesn't need to be subsidized. People should pay the cost of that. So you have to have that differential there, and then that'll drive people to be more efficient in how they use electricity, invest in more efficient appliances, and in the end, a higher rate doesn't mean a higher bill if you're more efficient in how you use electricity that you're getting.
And that is a conversation I'm sure we'd have moving forward. Sure. Now, there's one thing that I want to ask you about that was probably not discussed in the conference. The Prime Minister made a statement that the Petrotrin refinery would probably be back up and running at the end of 2019 because they are looking at tenders. Right. How is the Chamber viewing that?
Well, I mean, I think that's very positive. If the people who are interested in bringing in capital to restart the refinery, I think that's great and good for the economy. I can't really comment about the process because it is a process which I think Petrotrin are keeping very close to them for good reason at the moment, because you don't want to get accused of having discussed this with people outside. So that they will come out with a public request for proposals at some stage in the not too distant future. And I think that the whole country should hope that process goes well, and we get somebody who comes in and will run the refinery, put the capital in, and effectively run it, and hopefully make a profit from it and pay some taxes. And
that is something we'd also continue to monitor. Dr. Thackway Dax Driver, thank you very much for coming on this morning and chatting with us about the Energy Conference and also sharing your thoughts on a current issue as it relates to the Petrotrin refinery.